So let's go with our next person. He's based in Ottawa, not too far from Montreal. He played with a lot of people, okay, like Carol Pope, the blues guitarist David. I don't have his name. You will tell me. After Robert Farrell, Steve Gardner Band, and after that, it's a very good player for clubs. Like I mean, he has a lot of experience traveling all around the world. So let's go check it out. And Lamarche, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. What's the last name of that guitar player?
Oh,
David
David Go-Go.
Go. Yeah, you
David
told me
Go-Go.
you were supposed to play with him in Central America, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just back in March when everything got shut down. But I mean, I've been playing with him since 2004. So
Whoa. Okay, it's a
yeah,
long story. It's like a
yeah,
girlfriend.
yeah.
Second girlfriend. That's cool. Hey man, I'm happy to have you on the show because I think from now we didn't have nobody from Ottawa, and I really like Ottawa. So I was there last 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
I wanted to back this summer, but with COVID and pandemic and all that stuff, I didn't back. But the nightlife and all is growing crazy in Ottawa, man.
It's a great town, and where we are in between Toronto, Montreal, and New York State, it's a great spot to be.
Actually, yeah, it's true. Are you
Yeah.
in your studio right now, or in your basement, or?
This is actually my basement, which is studio, rehearsal, everything, So, yeah, I have a couple the kit back here I record on quite a bit. I swap out the drums depending on what sessions I'm doing, and I have a wall of snare drums and things like that.
Yeah, the drummer sickness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I saw a few of your drums on Facebook, and you have a great collection. You're still a pearl player, right?
Yeah, since I think 2001.
Oh
It's been
wow,
a
that's
while.
another
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah, great company. I've enjoyed all the kits I've had. I still have.
it's a great company for support.
Yeah.
Because my
Yeah.
question, I have a question for you actually about that. You play with so many people and in different situations, like small club, bigger scene, not famous, big person. Are you the kind of person you really want your backline set as is from your studio, or you're kind of flexible and you go around the kit in general?
Well, I think the big thing about that is you need to be flexible.
Mhm.
Now, no matter what's on a gear rider, I mean, a lot of times you're going to get what you get. So it's a lot of time being flexible with that. I mean, I'll travel with one of my snare drums at least, and pedals and cymbals and things like that. But yeah, backline, I think you just need to be flexible with it. If I had it my way, yeah, I'd have the exact same setup everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. No, because I know, for example, Dennis Chambers, when he was on tour with Santana.
Hmm.
I think they put, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was around 15 exact copy, same copy kit all around the world, like
Wow.
two
Yeah.
United States, one in Canada, two, three in Europe, in like Asia, Australia, for having exactly the same setup.
Hmm.
So when you can have that luxury,
Yeah.
it's cool. You can enjoy it, for sure. But actually, when was your last tour, like outside Canada, and with and
Ooh.
which artist?
I mean, outside, I think in the last 2 years, it's all just been Canada stuff. Before that, I mean, uh, it kind of turns into a bit of a blur sometimes. I remember the last kind of, I can't remember what year it was, maybe 2016, 17, Cherry Suede, band I played with over here. We're doing a lot of stuff in the UK. So at one point we went over there, I think for 21 days, and we did 17 shows, which is
Whoa.
great. Like over in the UK and Europe, especially, all the times being over there. I mean, how quick it is to travel between. I mean, you don't even think twice about a 5 or 8 hour drive. Whereas touring Canada,
Yeah, or
yeah,
just crossing the Greater Toronto.
yeah,
It's
exactly,
like
just
two
that.
hours.
Yeah, yeah.
You say,
But
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, it's the last Canadian run I kind of did. I did a 3 week on and off stint with Lockie Doley group from Australia. So that was subbing in last minute. I think I drove to Donnacona, Quebec,
Yep.
just outside Quebec City. Met them one afternoon, headlined the blues festival there that night. The next night, headlined the jazz festival in Lévis, Quebec, and then Southern Ontario, back to Quebec, back and forth. So doing all the blues festivals with that. So I mean, it's just things like that that always come up where I wasn't really expecting it, but a call comes in, and then before I know it, I'm charting out 20, 30 songs and scrambling to sub out other gigs or move things around a schedule. But yeah, lately, I mean, it's not a lot of touring, lots of one-offs, and that's it. But I mean, you know, there was at one point, I think I went back when I was with a band called Artificial Joy Club. We were on, we were on Interscope Records in the U.S. So I mean, we toured U.S. all, I think at one point for 4 months straight, and then the next summer, I think we went to Europe 4 times. You know, over 2-3 months, just doing all the big festivals and things like that over there. So,
congrats! It's a very good experience for as a drummer, because you have to do sound checks, meet people. You know, like it's pretty cool. When you were a kid, what was your target as a musician? You started and you're like, I want to be in a band, or you decide it goes by step, and you grew up as a musician. What was your target when you were a kid, for example?
Yeah, I think it was just growing with the times. Thinking back, I mean, I took drum lessons, I think started when I was about 11, but I don't think I was really into it as much as I should have been. But I think over time, I mean, when I was 13, 14, started playing with, you know, friends in school, friends in high school, then turned into doing gigs. And then I think by the time I was 16, I was actually playing in bars all the time and making money, and then just went from there. But yeah, I mean, the one maybe regret I have is not practicing as much as I should have when I was 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, because when you get older, you don't have that luxury time for practicing.
That's right. I mean, now it's always I'm learning songs or charting songs out and not really sitting down practicing. I mean, that's really the thing is maybe I should have practiced more early on.
It's very funny you mentioned that. A long time ago, around 20 years ago, I saw I saw Wilson Larenson playing drums, and I asked him a question like, wow, where did you learn to practice all those stuff, and what do you do when you practice right now? It's like, I don't practice anymore. It's like, okay. It's like, I'm done practicing. I'm like, okay, why? It's like, I don't have time. Exactly what you say. I'm charting songs, I'm writing stuff, I'm listening songs, and mixing with family and life, and it's a balance, you know. But do you still try to find the time to learn new things, or you're comfortable with your things at right now?
Yeah, no, I try and learn new things, try and incorporate it in. You know, if I sit down, I have an electronic kit too, so I'll just sit down and hack away and just jam out stuff. But you know, when subbing in on gigs and things like that, I mean, is not the time to be trying new stuff. So it's always just going in, doing the job you're hired to do. Try your best, you know, do what you can, because a lot of time, I mean, I'm looking at, sometimes glancing at charts, looking at people in the band, watching for cues. You know, it usually takes a couple gigs too to figure out what certain gestures someone have mean, you know, like, oh, okay, that's the end of the song, or that means 4 bars, that means 1 bar. You know, you never know on the first gig.
It's good you mentioned that, because you just said you got a gig with the Australian band last minute. So when you got that, you don't know the nothing about the band. So where do you start? You're gonna start first for sure to learn the song, but how you build your charts, and how and I guess the social skills are another aspect very important, because you're gonna share the stage with them even if you're a sub. So how you manage contract like that?
Well, I think it's, you know, getting the songs that you need to know for the gigs and stuff. But I mean, my charts, I just write out quick arrangement charts with notation and hits and the groove and the tempo. And then getting hanging out with these people that you're playing with that you don't even know. So it's you just adapt to the situation, and um, I I think I'm pretty low maintenance and just go in, do what needs to be done.
Well, talking about that, do you have what is in your top five best experience of touring, or a funny moment, or something you can say that was like the gold of whatever in my life I reached or something? Do you have any top one of the top five
Well,
hidden?
there's a lot, I think,
No, that's
too.
why
I
that's
mean,
why I'm saying five. You don't think
yeah,
the five, but one of the five.
one of the five. I mean, uh, it's just like touring and doing all the festivals way back when with Artificial Joy Club. I mean, we did the Lollapalooza '97 tour.
Wow,
See, I mean, that was a long time ago. I was pretty young at the time, and it's every day in catering, and to your right is Tool, and to your left is Snoop Dogg, and stuff like that. It was just
yes,
being able to see those bands. I watched Korn pretty much every day, and watched Tool every day, and things like that. Just a lot of gigs with bands who had never thought, like bands I liked or go see. I did one festival with Faith No More.
whoa,
Never thought that would happen.
that's a
Things like
good
that.
thing.
There's so many. Like, there was lots of good experiences with David Gogo. We actually opened for BB King at the Molson
Oh yeah,
Amphitheater in Toronto a couple years back, and I mean that was super cool.
I'm
We used to
sure.
go out. We played tons of shows with Johnny Winter and things like that. So yeah,
That's a. You just mentioned Tool. I saw
yeah.
the Lollapalooza in '97 with Tool, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
funny because when I was not even I was a kid, and I
Mhm.
remember I saw them and I didn't understand nothing. You understand, like you have something in your face and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
whoa. I had the same thing a few years after with a Perfect Circle, when they
Yes.
have like when the singer came with his own project with well, same thing, but I was older. It was like maybe four or
Yeah.
5 years after. But I remember they have an energy. It's they have their special energy,
Hmm.
and I really like it.
Hmm.
I dig it. But it's cool to you mention that, because a lot of musicians, they always dream about I will tour with my rock band and I will do that, all that.
Yeah.
And it's fun because you have a kind of success story of you tour a lot of those festivals, and it's not happening for everyone to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I remember a lot of the European festivals. Um, God, like the amount of bands that I've seen just playing in different places is I sometimes can't even remember all the bands I've seen.
For sure.
Yeah.
And particularly when you're in a festival, because
Hmm.
yes, you have a scene, you have your time for play, but you need to prepare,
Yes.
people doesn't think about that. You need to
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of transportation, eating, resting.
Yeah. Exactly.
Are you the kind of person, when you are on tour, you are a very like healthy person, like eating well, water, stuff like that?
Try to. I mean, that's not always the case. I mean, uh, yeah, I really try and get enough rest and things like that. And I think that's kind of what you said, is people don't realize the amount of work and preparation that goes into doing
Mhm.
things. And and that's the big thing, is traveling. You're limited sometimes to what food you're getting, or what food is around at the time, and things like that. Like, yeah, I try and be healthy. I know I don't get enough rest. I know I don't get enough sleep, things like that. But I think it's been like that forever. So I don't know if that's ever going to change.
Oh, well, but at least because when you go overseas,
Yeah.
we can be jet lag will depend like 6 7 hours. If you
Yeah.
go to UK, for example, I don't know for you, but I found my routine. Usually, I will try to sleep a part of the flight, and when I will back, I will try to jump right away with the
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
if I go to my hotel and it's, let's say it's 7, but in my body is like 1
Yeah.
p.m., I will kick myself to sleep. Even if I don't sleep, I will rest for my body readapt
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fastest as I can.
Yeah. That's exactly, I think, the key to that.
Yeah, and another thing, you just said something too, like there's a big amount of work. So because we have to think about that, we have a lot of people listening. Like I know they are starting their project. They never did that before. They don't know where to start. You need to be ready to like when you. I'm sure, for example, when you got you're getting a call for subbing someone, you don't just show up. You need to be ready for sub a person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, that's exactly it. And I don't think people realize that. A lot of times, people just think that you're just getting up there and playing, which blows my mind. How people actually think that they don't realize, the hours of writing out songs. And I mean, sometimes I'll chart out a whole gig with a band that I'm subbing in with, and actually never even play the songs till
Yeah.
I get on stage. And that's a time constraint thing. That's not me going, don't worry about it. It's just always having time to chart out every song and then try and play through them. I mean, if I had it my way, I'd chart them out, I'd play through them 5 or 6 times and then go do a gig. But
well, you can always go napkin style and you do like a fast lead sheet, like
yeah,
when you go top 40 bands, hotel or stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
You don't have the time for writing everything.
yeah,
So like I'm exaggerating, but it happens to me. No joking. Like a set list on the napkins, a
yeah,
bar. Okay, we'll do that
yeah,
song, and the singer changed everything after the
yeah.
second set.
Well,
So
that's it with cover gigs too. I mean, I do my share of cover gigs and subbing in on cover gigs, and just people think you should know every single song ever written.
no.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, just I have no idea.
You did do the field
Yeah,
because the listener, they know those songs like
yeah,
them, right? But for us, we're gonna, as a sub, we'll play the song, and sometimes there's a feel we're gonna, maybe not exactly the same.
yeah.
You didn't do the feel at that
Mhm.
time, sorry, it's part of the game. But of course, if you do a Genesis song, or like the Phil Collins,
Mhm.
you cannot go wrong with that one. You
Yeah,
have to do it. It's
yeah.
nothing different. But I know what you mean. Hey, we're about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Are you? One last question. After that, I want you to tell us where the people can reach you and they can discover you. Are you teaching right now? Are you a teacher, or you don't teach?
No, I don't teach. I did a long time ago. I think it's a time thing, but I I think in this point in my life, I'd rather be taking lessons than teaching.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
I like that answer. It's fun. It's like yeah, to have to get more more vocabulary or a new breed or something
yeah,
like that.
exactly. Yeah.
And where the people can reach you right now? Are you more like a Instagram, a Facebook, a YouTube? What is your favorite
I
platform?
think Instagram these days, andydrums.com. I haven't really posted much stuff lately. I haven't really done much. I do have a website, andrewlamarche.com. Kind of all my dates and info and things like that are on there. Bunch of videos. I have a YouTube channel as well. Yeah, so I'm on all the stuff: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
And right now, are you taking, because you have your studio in your place? Are you recording? Are you taking contract like
Yeah,
drum tracks and stuff like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I do tracks all the time for people. I'll just send out the 16 stems drums and see what they do what they want with them. I do that. I have friends, bands I'm in. We've been my Rainwater Whiskey band that I'm playing with in town here. We've been
Okay.
working on new original music, so we're all holed up in our houses and sending tracks back and forth and song ideas. So that's kind of how we're doing it now. So
New way to work it out and
yeah,
practice.
yeah.
Hey, thanks, man. It's already done. The time goes so fast. Well, thanks for being on Drumfield Cafe. I'm very happy to have you in, and stay safe.
Thank
And
you.
if next time I'm gonna stop by Ottawa, I will try to go shake hand if we can, or it will be
Perfect.
a shake hand like that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Thank you, guys. Thanks for Andrew. Please, like I said, go check it out: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Facebook of Drumfield Cafe. We have also a website. If you didn't know, go check it out. And we are in the 3rd season. So if you didn't know, we already have done 2 seasons. You can rewatch all those shows on the YouTube or the Facebook for Drumfield Cafe. Okay, hi everybody. So now we are gonna go with the next guest. Drumfield Cafe has many different editions. So today we are in the World Editions. If it's your first time you're watching the show, first of all, the World Edition is basically in English. We have a version in Spanish, and we have also a version in French. So you can rewatch all those shows. They are in YouTube, on Facebook, and we had a season 1 and a season 2. So if you now we're in season 3. So if you didn't watch it before, you can back on track and rewatch it all. And a lot of my friends, they don't have time to watch the video, but they do them in podcast. So they download the files in podcast, and they are listening to them in their phone or a car or whatever. So now let's go with our next artist. He played with a lot of people. I won't mention everybody, but the big name, Diana Ross, George Duke, Mose Allison, Chet Baker. So just these names are like crazy good name for playing with. He has 2 degrees, not just one from San Francisco Conservatory of Music, one at the University of Toronto in music. So it's very good. He wrote a lot of books. Actually, I have a few of his book. I won't name it all because we're going to talk with him, but you have Polyrhythm for drum set, the complete drum set rhythm, learn to play the drum set 1 and 2. He also have the music guide to Polyrhythm, as voted the number 6, one of in the top 25 best drum book in the modern drummer section. So it's pretty impressive. He's a Vickford Paiste in Yamaha endorsee. Let's welcome Pete Magadini. How are you doing?
Hey, Eric, I'm doing great, man. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Hey, I'm checking. You're a pretty lucky guy to have your drum set and your back and in your house, I guess. This your house, right?
It is. Yeah, I'm in Chicago now. I've been here for 4 years,
Okay.
and I'm teaching and doing Skype lessons right here. And it's a 3-story townhouse. I'm on the bottom floor, and have double pane windows, and cars go zipping by above us on some couple streets above us, and kind of drown out the noise. It's great. I can practice at 2 in the morning if I want to.
Chicago is an amazing city. I was there on tour 2 years, 3 years ago, if I remember well, close to the baseball stadium. There's a empty field. We set up the tent there, and I've been watching shows in downtown Chicago everywhere.
Yeah.
There's so many good places for discovering music and great musicians in Chicago.
Oh, absolutely, and great musicians, and a lot of them you never heard their names before. I mean, some of these guys that play around here are like, whoa, how come I didn't know you?
Exactly.
Kind of an
Actually,
insular little place. I mean, a big
yeah.
place, but it's out in the middle of the country, so it kind of circulates within itself.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're right. There's great players.
It's great. It's a great city too. I like the deep dish pizza too. So this is another topic, but it's yeah. Or the cheesecake is good too in Chicago. Hey, by the way, it's very funny because I knew, but you were mentioning you were teaching in Concordia University in Montreal until '97. I was studying there in '99 to in 2000 and 2001. So it's our path almost crossed.
Yes, yeah, I would have been yelling at you at Concordia.
That's perfect. It's the way to learn.
No,
And
I don't yell at anybody, man. I just let guys. The serious guys always take care of business. I don't worry about them. They always do what they need to do. I'm just trying to give them the right stuff. I just make sure, just trying to give them things that they don't have to waste their time.
mhm. But actually, talking about right stuff, I got a few of your books and I learned them, and they are great things. I mean, they're great books. The Polyrhythm for drum set, all the books are amazing. And I wanted to ask you one question: where you came from with those books? I mean, what was the starting point you wanted to write one drum book? Because let's take that in time. Let's back 30 years back or 40 years back. You were kind of advanced in your time at that moment. Now you see people on YouTube, Instagram playing odd meter stuff, crazy. But you, at that time, you didn't have access to videos like that. So where those ideas came from at that time?
Okay, so when I was in high school, my band director gave me a little scholarship to study with a really good teacher in Arizona. I was living in Arizona,
Okay.
and this was my first private teacher, so I was a little late. I was coming out of high school, still hadn't spent. I was playing a lot and playing in clubs and had played in all the school bands. This guy got me interested in a lot of stuff. I'll show you. This is my original book with studying with him.
Wow.
This one here, rudimental swing solos for the advanced drummer, and it's still a really, really important book. If I use it with my students, and these things are hip. These solos are happening. Philly Joe Jones, teacher, this guy.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Uh,
Is this your original copy?
That's my original copy.
Wow.
1960.
So cool.
So I got inspired by his teaching, and then he gave me students. He gave me his beginning students, so I kind of started my teaching career. I never thought about writing a book, but fast forward, I was in the conservatory in San Francisco, playing with George Duke at night, going to school in the daytime. George Duke and I both went to the San Francisco Conservatory.
Okay.
So we knew each other from school, and we formed a trio, and we were busy playing in San Francisco and other places, but mainly in the Bay Area. But in 1966, Ali Akbar Khan, the famous Sarod Indian master, came to Cal Berkeley to teach with his drummer, tabla player, and himself, and one of the singers and one of the dancers, North Indian classical music. I had no idea what it was, but I knew that I loved the tabla, and I knew that those guys were playing a whole lot of stuff that I didn't understand. I just didn't get where they were coming from. They were burning the highways compared to what we were doing rhythmically, So I was a trained percussionist, so I was interested in all kinds of percussion and stuff. And so I went to the class, and they had about 40 tabla players, tabla students, and the class was every day for 4 hours a day, and it lasted 8 weeks.
Wow.
And at the end of that first week, half of them dropped out, and at the end of the second week, another bunch dropped out. And at the end, there's only 4 of us. Myself, John Bergamo, who started Cal Arts, that program.
Okay, yeah.
Vince Delgado, who traveled with Zakir and also was a great hand drummer himself, and myself. And Ram Dass, the famous philosopher, was also in this class, Richard Leary. And he was taking it just because out of interest, and I think that's what started his whole Eastern trip, because he became this famous philosopher on Eastern culture. That's the roots of his thing. So, to make a long story short, the teacher, the tabla player, we were just learning how to make sounds on the instrument. It was hard. That's a difficult instrument to get going. And then all the rhythms are syllables. Da, din, din, da, da, din, da, din, din, How do you translate all that into notes?
Oh, yeah, well.
You know what I mean? So he used to let me stay after, and I brought my pad, and we used to blow together. He'd play some stuff, and I'd play what I thought I heard on the drum pad. And he'd go, he said, let me tell you about how rhythm cycles work. And if you have 4/4, you have 1 and 1. You have one rhythm against another rhythm. So you take this rhythm and you subdivide it into quarters, eighths, triplets, and sixteenths. That's what we do, right? That's what we do, okay? But if you take another rhythm on top of it and go to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you take that 6 and divide it into eighths, triplets, and sixteenths, and all the things you can do that we do in 4. Then you're playing in a time that goes 1.5 times faster. And so what? What's the point of that? Well, first of all, it's interesting, and rhythmically, we all should be spending time on this. You've been through the books, so.
Yep.
But I hear guys say, some drummers go, "Oh, I don't play polyrhythms because you can't dance to them." What the hell? What kind of you can't dance to them. Hey, man, look up Awe, all the West African
For sure.
tribal rhythms that have influenced our music. Those guys are dancing and they're playing in 6/4, dang, ding, 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 dang. All
Yeah.
our Latin music comes from that. All our jazz comes from the African.
Mhm.
So, there's African, Indian. The thing is that once you learn these layers, and this is what started this book. So I wanted to take those Indian hard
Yeah.
compositions and I wanted to break them down into notes so we could all learn them. I'm not teaching Indian or African or anything. I'm just teaching you how to get there. You can study whatever you want. But first of all, you need to know something about polyrhythms. So this book is really about, breaking those things down. And it's kind of a stick control in polyrhythms is what it is.
Yeah,
And-
stick control, new breed approach.
Yeah, well, but I didn't write it for drummers. It's just all in one line. I wrote it
It's
just
notes.
for anybody
Mhm.
to just learn how to play these rhythms. Look at this page right here. Let me see. For example, here's a rhythm. I talk about this sometimes. Right here, let me hold that up so you can see it.
We can see.
The one that's triplets.
Yep.
Okay.
The first
Right,
line.
so you go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6. That triplet in quarter note triplets, the triplet in quarter note triplets, we don't even have that rhythm in our vocabulary in 4/4. You can't write it. You can't. You couldn't write enough rests to make that work. You have to go into a polyrhythm. So right there is a little example of, well, you want to play interesting drums. Why don't you open yourself up to all these possibilities? And yeah, you can play funk beats and everything else. You can layer rhythms. Some guys are really good at it. And Steve Smith studied with me out of this book. And this is for drummers.
I have this one too. Yeah, this one is a good one.
That is an important book if you want to get into this, because it's about,
I agree with that.
right. So Steve and I went through this, and look at my endorsers here. Chad Wackerman, Cindy Blackman, Roy Burns, Steve Smith, Peter Erskine, Jim Chapin, Louis Belson, Vic Firth, Anthony Cerrone, Modern Drummer. People who have gone through this realize the value of it. And one
it's
more
a good
thing,
book.
and I'll get off this subject. One more thing.
No, go ahead.
The independence that we're looking for is not, can you play these? Because everybody's looking for tricks to play these. Pass the butter, pass the butter, pass the butter. If you play pass the butter, yeah, you get 6 in one hand and 4 in the other hand. But that is only keeping you in monaural. You're not thinking of those rhythms separately. You just got a little trick so you can get there. The point is you need to be able to play off of both of those. Because, you can have 6 here and you get 4 on the bottom, but the 4 can take off on its own against the 6. And the Latin players do it. They're great at it. So it's this mental independence. And I, as I give for an example, as an analogy, I said, if you're on the highway and it's very dark and your headlights are only pointed in the middle of the road and you can only see the lane you're in, you're stuck just driving in that lane.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. But if your headlights fan out and you can see all the other lanes, you're much more comfortable.
It's easier.
You can, and this is what polyrhythms does for your time. Guys who study polyrhythms get a much deeper pocket when they play.
Yeah, actually, I always tell my students that to sing those rhythms. So if you play a backbeat or whatever, and you want to adapt or add a polyrhythm on top of that layer, I'm always telling them sing what you want to hear. So and they can really figure out how to play that after with your hand. It's a better way to see those, like you said, like to open your open doors, different doors.
Right. And when you have your students singing or counting, you as a teacher can find out how it's going on in their brain,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
for sure.
they need to do that. The drummers who put on a metronome and they're
Mm-hmm.
just following, oh, I got to get it perfect, man. I got to get metronome perfect. You don't play time like that. It's got to breathe. It's got to have some room around it. You know, and the drummers who have room around, and I'm not saying some guys just play great. They didn't go through polyrhythm books. And
Yeah.
they play just as much as they need to play or what they want to play. They're in a band, they're doing great, and the band's doing well, and they're happy campers. But if you're studying, you're coming up in the ranks, man, and you let this go by you now, and not spend some time with it, then you're gonna miss out because guys are gonna pass you. Look at Vinny Colaiuta; he studied all this stuff. Vinny told me at a Vic Firth event. He said, "Oh, Pete Magadini, your book changed my life."
Wow, that's a good
Talking about
statement.
this,
It's
you
a
know,
it's very nice to hear that from Vinny.
are you kidding? Whoa! I said, I wish I could take a photograph of that.
Yeah, you should write it down. But it's very cool. Something too about I always like to mix polyrhythm, for example, and linear patterns too. So sometimes the linear is a great way to learn too. And when you can mix those, as like let's say a drum fill will be in linear and the basic rhythm will be polyrhythm. That's another way to approach beats.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that because in this book here, the my Learn to Play the Drum Set, which is my drum set.
Yeah, this one is very good too.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. People know me for the other books. They don't know this one so much. This one just came out where it's the beginning and the. But this thing right here, single plus double combination exercise, is the
Okay.
linear concept of that. And you're right. You need to feel how time can just float over the bar. It doesn't have to be polyrhythmic. Linear is real important.
Mhm.
You mentioned him before, Gary Chester. That book is very linear.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Mhm.
You'll read, yeah.
And Gary Chafee, he's sort of the master of linear.
Yeah, and you said you mentioned something cool too about the if you know all those polyrhythms, your pocket beat will you will have a better pocket beat. One reason for that, like for example, the other day a student asked me how you groove that song so soft, for example, like so laid back, and I said because in my head I have you don't hear, but I have subdivisions running like depend of which
Of
song it is, but I have my subdivision in 3 or in 4 or in 5, sometimes 16 note, 32-second note, I don't know, but I don't count, but I hear them. So that's my way to know where I am. If I do a ballad very slow, I will count faster in my head. It's weird. It's well, have my way to feel
I
the
understand.
rhythms.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, exactly. It's well, you mentioned that you're the drummer for Cirque Soleil.
In
I'm sure
Cavalier,
it
yep.
happens where at times you're playing along with the music, but something happens in the act, and you have to let the time float out a little bit
All the time.
all the time, right?
All the time.
That is another ability that you have because you're letting the time float out because you need to catch it, but you need to pull the thing back where it's supposed to be after you've done what you had to do. If somebody's doing a trick on an
Mhm.
apparatus or something, and you got to catch it just right.
Yep,
You have that
exactly.
mental ability to be free, and yet you said, I got all these subdivisions. Yeah, you have it, but you also just can let it go and just float there, man, and then bring it back. I love float. If I'm playing in a band and I got a percussionist sometimes I used to play with Vince Delgado in my quintet,
Okay.
and also I had a quintet in Montreal, and my percussionists there. We get into a thing, and we just let the time kind of float out, and pretty soon we didn't know what time we were in. All we had to go on was the tune in our head,
Totally.
right?
Totally, yeah.
And everything else was just floating around it. I love that feeling because I said, "What did you do there?" I have no idea.
I don't know. It reminds me something. On one show I was working with, the composer has an open section in 7/4. And he told me, punch whatever thing, like when they jump, when they do, But at the beginning, I'm like, it's okay. It's a piece of cake. It's easy. No, no, no,
That's
because you're
right.
in 7/4. So
Yeah.
when you punch, you can put your band in Jeopardy, even if it's a click track, because you're playing and you're in 7/4. So you punch like the two hand,
Yeah.
but the people can think it's a one. Honestly, a few of my players, they get out of the road a few times because you need to keep on seven. At the end, now I think I have a master degree in 7/4 because after
Yeah.
so many times playing that thing, I don't feel it. I don't count. I feel it. I mean, I just play, and like you said, like if they ask me what did you do there, I don't know what metric is in 7/4. Oh yeah, did you count? I don't count because it's musicality.
There you go. The mental freedom you get from studying
Exactly.
polyrhythms works in so many different ways, you know. And once you have that ability, you always have it. It never leaves you.
So true, so true. Hey, let's continue. I have a few questions about you play with George Duke and you studied with him. When I was in university in college, I was studying what that guy did. And it's super cool because I did a class in Concordia, was a American pop song, and George Duke was in that class. They were talking about that. How is for you as a person playing with Diana Ross or George Duke or people they really have written part of the history is it's huge. It's a how you feel like as a drummer. Like, yeah, I work with them. Do you have any emotional thing involved in that?
Well, George and I just we just were friends, and we got the thing going with the trio, and we played for. I played with him for 4 years
Wow.
before he went to L.A. Before I went to L.A., everybody in that group eventually went to L.A. Well, we knew George was a. Everybody in school knew George was a special kind of musician. George didn't study piano at the conservatory.
Mhm.
Played trombone,
Wow, I won't expect that.
and he was good. And I asked him once. I said, "Why don't you? Why did you not study piano?" He said, Pete. He said, I've been playing piano a long time. He was only like 18. He said, I've been playing a long time. He said, it took me a long time to develop how I play piano, and I'm very satisfied where I am with the piano. I don't want anybody touching it,
Wow.
and I wanted to have the education of going through the conservatory, but I had also a background in trombone. One thing about George Duke is that in that school, it was a small school, and we had very modern music composers as teachers.
Okay.
So we played a lot of, quote, avant garde classical music, bordering on free improvisation. It went all the way out to that. So lots of sounds, lots of no bar lines, lots of anything goes, or very hard, difficult written pieces, but not something that you're going to whistle in your car.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
And so when George and I both graduated from that school, we had that training of we studied classical music, but we also studied modern music.
Hmm.
So people said, "Oh, well, George, how is Frank Zappa? How'd that happen?" I said, "That's the most natural thing in the world for him to go to Frank Zappa. He had already been playing all that music in school. He was very open to it.
Yes, yes.
So, he went to that band because he could play that stuff so well. I have an album out with George Duke. I just happen to have it there. I didn't plant it, but it's
Okay.
called Polyrhythm,
Okay.
and it's still for sale. You can get it.
Okay.
George Duke, Don Menza out of the Buddy Rich Band, and Dave Young, the bass player from Toronto who played many years with Oscar Peterson.
Yes, correct.
We recorded this in L.A. in 1975, and a
Wow.
lot of drummers like it because there's rhythmic themes on every tune, but it's not an educational um, CD recording. It's a recording where we're stretching out and playing.
Okay.
And George brought in the Frank Zappa electronic instruments. So on some of the tracks, anytime you hear anything that's not acoustic piano, that's what he was using with Frank Zappa in his band. And they're classic instruments now. Nobody's playing them, and
For
they're
sure.
also on this recording. So check
Wow.
it out. It's available. You can check it out on Amazon or
I will check for sure because I think I heard it. I think I heard it, but I will come. I will go pick it up a few some. And I think I heard it when I was back to school.
I probably take one of my best recorded drum solos on this.
Okay.
We play a very up-tempo samba rhythmic thing that Don Menza wrote called the Samba de Rollins. And George plays the heck out of it, man. He played a beautiful piano thing, and then he overdubbed the Frank Zappa electronic stuff behind it, which is really cool. And on this solo, I got the hi-hat going tick 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 tick, and then I go into 3 against 4 tick 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 da 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 tick 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 tick. I don't stop that, so you can hear both times going on at the same time.
That's so cool. Sounds very interesting, and it's fun. I'm sure the people watching the show, they're gonna go listen to it and buy it. Hey, the time is almost gone. First, last thing. I mean, you're teaching. You told me you were teaching from your house right now. Is this what you mentioned? Do you still take? Are you taking students a bit, or you're like I have my student and that's it?
No, I'm taking students. I'm taking Skype students right now.
Okay.
You can go to my website and contact me, www.petermagadini.com. I'm also on Facebook, although Facebook's not as easy to get in touch with me because I never know who's contacting me for what. But
Yeah.
if you're interested in studying with me, you can see the background here. See if I can move out of the way. That's my drum set that I teach off of.
Oh, that's perfect.
Classic Yamaha Beach Custom 1999
Okay.
Blueberry.
The
Beautiful.
Beach Custom are a great kit.
Yeah, they're great kids. So
Yeah, they're very good.
you study with me right here in my house, and we do it. And if you want to learn about polyrhythms, I think maybe I'm probably qualified to.
Maybe. I think you are. You have great books. Actually, I will say to everyone watching the show, I encourage you to go get those books. They're amazing. I work with mostly 2 of them during my college, university time, and they really helped me a lot with. I think they would. I put your books in the classic, like you mentioned, like syncopation, stick control, new breed. Like there's like Michel Peters and all those books. There's like a few we can name, but I think your books are in the same category, and it's very good because you can learn a lot, and there are no endings. Those books,
Yeah.
like you can do and redo and do a lot of stuff and add things on it, and it's amazing for that.
By the way, if you're a teacher, this one starts at the very beginning. So if you're a teacher and you're tired of writing out separate exercises and patterns for your beginning students, this starts at the beginning and goes right to the very end. This book is everything that I had been teaching all the time, and anything I wasn't using I discarded. So this is the stuff that I came up with. This is all the winning programs that I had found works the best with all kinds of students. And I've had students who Mike Johnston was my student.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't know, but I saw that. Yep. When I checked.
I've had, and all the way back to Michael Shreve, who was Carlos Santana's drummer and the drummer who played that great solo at Woodstock. I looked that up about a month ago. It's had 47 million hits. The drum on YouTube, and Michael's still playing great. And I worked with him way back. So I have students all through the years, and everything that I found out worked with these great students are in this.
In that. Well, thank you very much. It's that the time is we don't have any more time. So thanks for your time. Thanks for being there. I wish you good luck. Stay safe. I wish you all the best. And I wish to meet you in person with all that pandemia will be done, and we can shake hands for real. And
well, you're probably going to be coming to Chicago for something or other, so let's do it.
Yeah, I would like to. So I wish you a good night and stay safe, my friend.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks for Peter Magadini. Amazing person, amazing player, and great books. I really recommend you to go check it out. He has a lot of material you can work with. Even if you're a beginner, like you mentioned, intermediate or advanced, there's no ending with this book. So thanks for being here. And and subscribe for all our channel, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and I invite you to go check it out. The website from Drumfield Cafe is drumfieldcafe.com. You will have a lot of information there. Okay, hi guys. So now let's go with the next artist. Every week we have many artists. The World Edition for the third season, since once a month, compared to last time was twice a month. But we're gonna invite you to discover the Latin part. We have a DFK in Spanish. So if you want to discover new artists or artists known, but their primary language is Spanish, I invite you to watch those shows. If you never have been on the show before, we have plenty of shows done in English or in French, because we have a section only for the province of Quebec, but we have French people from France following the show, but you're more invited to go check it out. And about all those shows, they're available on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and we have a .com. So drumfieldcafe.com. A lot of information there, and it's not just like videos or recording. There's a editorial, like in some article, and some information. You won't have them if you don't go check it out on the website. So let's go with the next artist. It's originally from Canada, from the East Coast part, and now he's living in Toronto. He's teaching there and he's playing there. He studied at Berklee College of Music with Victor Mendoza, John Ramsey, Skip Hayden, and Ed Kaspik. He played with a lot of artists. Okay, I will just name a few, but a lot of big names like Dutch Mason, Brett Ryan, Wayne Nicholson, Sass Jordan, Alana Miles, Honeymoon Suite, Nickelback, Justin Timberlake, and Nelly Furtado. He played in many big television shows in the US, like the Jay Leno and David Letterman, like famous places everybody would like to play. He also have been part of Drumfest clinic all around the world. So let's go check it out. What's up, Dave Langguth?
Hello, Eric. How you doing, buddy?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for accepting the invitation.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm super happy because you told me you're going to the forest or a camp or something far away with no internet. Yeah. Okay, you didn't do that, so okay.
I'm going on a covert operation. Yeah.
Anyway, you have headphones, all cool.
Yeah.
So, well, what about Toronto right now? What are you playing? Are you teaching online right now?
Yeah, I'm doing online teaching since this is all since the COVID lockdowns and all that kind of stuff started. I mean, obviously, I was literally driving back in March. I was driving to a gig, and 3 hours into the drive, and I get the phone call that it's like turn around and go home because everything's locked down. So that was kind of the beginning of how the rest of the year panned out for myself and everybody else in this boat. So, it just went down to like the first few months was just kind of sitting around, and it's like, I got my electronic drums here. So I thought I better, get them connected, get myself going online so I can keep myself going. Because, I mean, besides not working, just not being around your craft, not being around music, it's either that or you're going to play video games, right?
It's easy. Netflix.
Exactly.
Easy to get, but it's good. It's good. The point you just mentioned it. A lot of people. It's not because you're not touring. You don't want to do stuff. You want to keep connect in some ways to music. And you have a kit in your place at your place, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a studio as well, and with my drum set up and all my recording equipment, and that's typically where I teach. Of course, it's an hour on the other side of Toronto. So when all the lockdown stuff happened again, we started hearing things like, don't drive anywhere unless it's like a necessity. And and then people were canceling lessons. So I just I took the first month and I sat back and tried to reevaluate everything. Right. Like I said, got the online thing going, started doing did a bit of teaching like that. And then people started getting a little more brave, and so I started making the trips back after about 3 months. But really what's been happening lately, believe it or not, is recordings.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a couple of recordings I did with guitar player. I don't know if anybody knows Glenn Drover, former guitar player for Megadeth.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then also the bass player for Megadeth.
Okay.
And a new singer for Queensryche. And keyboard player for Rainbow. And we just I was just asked to do some drum tracking for a couple of songs that they might be releasing. And so I've been like spending money on recording equipment. Everyone's in the lockdown, and I'm blowing my money on gear, right? Yeah.
I was thinking you were recording with that electronic kit with patch, but you are going to your own studio. Okay.
Yeah. With like all my good external preamps and all the mics and all the bells and whistles, right?
And you know your equipment, so you don't mess around. You don't have to spend hours to just retuning something,
Exactly. Yeah.
That's good. Hey man, I was checking your biography, but I first of all, I saw you first time I met with Nelly Furtado, like really like a lot of years back. But I saw you. I
remember the first time we met. It's been a long time.
But I met you first in person, Montreal Drumfills.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I don't remember which year. Like I'm too old now, but
I think it was 2000 and 2006, maybe 2004, something like that.
But I remember was there, and you played there, and it was amazing. It was very cool.
Thank you.
And you were on my guest list of guesses I wanted to have on the show for a long time, because Drumfield Cafe is very important. I really want to push everywhere in Canada, but everywhere in the United States, but everywhere in the world. So, but sometimes the people doesn't take time to go around and check out other people. And you have a crazy good biography, man. You played with a lot of people, you tour with a lot of people, and I would like we chat a bit about that today. That's because thinking that a lot of people, they never did what you have done before, and you have a lot of experiences of all those things. So I would like to give cues to the audience. You know what I mean? So my first question, what was your, I know you played with like Nelly or other very great musicians, but who was your first tour you can really say that was the tour that put me on the track? Maybe not the biggest, but you had all the circumstances, like the backline, the big cities and going around. Can be one country, but which one was your first, okay, that was my first jump?
I would say the first real tour was Wayne Nicholson from Halifax.
Okay.
And that would be 2000. I can remember my dates. 2000? No, 1997. I think that's what it was. Yeah. And basically, we got on a tour bus and we went across Canada. And we had actually, you might even know the band. You remember C Spot Run?
Yep, for sure.
They were from Montreal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So they were the opening act, and they were on the bus with us. So we toured across Canada with C Spot Run. And that was a band that was funded by, if you know McCain's Food.
Yep. Yeah.
Andrew McCain was a friend of Wayne Nicholson, and they've been friends all along. And of course, he owns the biggest potato business on the, North America. Okay. So he put us on a tour bus and sent us across Canada, and did this tour. And the music director of the band was Kevin McMichael from the Cutting Crew.
Okay.
Also played guitar with Robert Plant on one of his records, I believe. And then the bassist in the band was a guy named Robert Laidlaw. Okay. And Rob Laidlaw was one of those guys from the Toronto area that in his day was play with everybody. He was with Alana, Lee Aaron, Rick Emmett, Kim Mitchell. I think New Regime, the Look People. Like he was like in just band after band. And I found out his buddy was Randy Cook.
Okay, he's a good friend of mine too.
A lot of people know Randy. Yeah. And that was the gig. The last gig we played coming back across Canada was in Toronto. Okay. And I'm like, please get Randy to come to the show to watch us play, right? So and cool. Amazing that Randy was available. He wasn't playing, and he came out to the show, and he's like, I love telling this story. I had a really expensive Pearl drum set that I kept at home, and I took my crappy drum set out on the road. So the first thing Randy ever said to me, he said, "Buy a new kit."
He's like, I love your shitty set, man.
He's like, "What is that thing?" He's like, "Nice playing, man. Buy a new kit." So anyway, he was kind of like, Randy was like the boost, that was like, when you get to Toronto, give me a call, So that was the first major connection, I guess.
Oh,
to
that's
really,
cool.
yeah.
Well, Randy's really into that too. Like, I mean, I met him like 20 something years ago, and he's super into all that, and he's very professional. He's a good example of those guys keeping those book in order, and they have all the, I don't know what, it's hard to describe, but it's the guy will do the session. He will be there. I'm very organized, but in some stuff I'm not. So, for me, like, this is like, wow. But Toronto, just for make a little something on the side, I like Toronto for that. If I calculate all the time I've been in Toronto, it's about a year, but all by 3, 4, 5 months each time. It's a great city, man. You go in everywhere, there's music. You just look in the newspaper and I want to see a show, and there's a show everywhere. You look like, it's super nice, and you're lucky to be there because it's a great city right now. Toronto, man. Look at the Billboard artists, and there's a lot on the top 10 of Toronto.
I want to say something, and not to put a negative, a downer right now in this interview, but I'm not even kidding. I just been thinking about this the other day too, and I feel really, really like I've had my opportunity to put my name into the scene and be established. And I'm thinking about the young kids, man. Like right now, like I know you're talking about the, about there's lots of places to play. There's a whole list of places that just closed down.
Oh yeah.
Right? A huge list. And I'm thinking about these kids that were literally this year were ready to go out there and start doing it, start their careers. And it just went like this. And after this all comes back, it's like those bars won't be there for those kids to start, their first opportunity in like the teething process, introducing themselves to the music industry, right? And meeting those people, meeting all so I feel really bad for the young new artists that are right there right now, and they're stuck,
It's important. It's a good comment because, for example, like let's say I hope not, but I hope the Rex and the Horseshoes and all those bars will stay alive. But for example, a good shake hand. Now we cannot do it. COVID. It would be like the COVID shake hand, but it's person to person is always different than Instagram. You can have 1 million viewer on Instagram, but you might not work in music. There's a very weird gray zone. And like you said, those kids now, they're related only to internet right now. But to be there back, because it's going to reopen in 1 year. Let's be realistic. In 1 year and something. So when all will be reopened, they need to go there. But it's the places. A lot of places will be closed. But it's but it's not negative. It's part of the reality. But anyway, we need to continue, man. You did a lot of artists. I mean, when you started to play the drum, what was your first objective? Are you the kind of drummer you wanted to be? I want to be in a band, or you wanted to be a session or a teacher? What was your state of mind at your early age of drumming?
Yeah, great question. Because again, it's like this comes down to you personally, not how people perceive you, right? Like sometimes you play on a big world stage with a big artist, and many people, for them. That is like, wow, that's the best. That's what I want to experience.
Totally.
But what does it come down to you personally? And it's like anything. You grow and you change, and how you felt 30 years ago, you might not feel the same now. When I first started playing, it was the love of the feel of the music. When I was 2 years old, I was that little kid, dancing around to music, and music made me move. And then you pick up sticks and you're moving, and the sticks just become an extension of your body, right? Totally. And that's all it was just like it was playing and feeling music and playing beats and grooves, and it was like that was all great. I think that for the most part, a lot of it came easy for me, and I didn't find it super challenging. I didn't have the blocks. And I had great teachers. I had like I didn't have many teachers over my period of time. I had, I think, 3 teachers really, and they were all really, really great teachers. They knew how to explain. They knew how to be patient. Very, very key factors. They knew how to work with me. With the way you learn. Everyone learns differently.
Yep.
So things came easy. Finally got to the point I get into Rush,
So like so many guys.
So, you get influenced by that kind of music. And the challenge started where, reading the books and like these odd time signatures and learning how to count them and learning how to play patterns inside them. And suddenly the science began.
For sure.
Right? That science point in my career, that went on for a while. I was like really like this.
You were like in the way.
And although I still, obviously I still like, funky music or music that just is groove based. My headspace was pushing myself as far as I could go. And then I got heavily into Dave Weckl, and it was like Chick Corea. And then Tower of Power was all David Garibaldi. So I went through a good, I'd say from my 9th grade till I graduated, so 12th grade was Weckl and David Garibaldi. That was, for the most part,
We're almost the same place, man, at the same time.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then always, Neil Peart was always there, So there's that caveman. I always like to call Neil the sophisticated caveman, right?
Yeah.
Because he was like, it was rock drumming, but he took it and he twisted it just enough that it was completely different than we've ever heard. And it was interesting for an advanced player, but all the basic people who didn't really know any science into music, they all got it.
Yep.
And it made sense. So that was always very attractive. I've always kept that with me. And then the Dave Weckl thing, it's funny, I never got into Vinny until later. That was...
okay.
Yeah. Tony Williams was always with me, actually, as well.
Tony's away.
Yeah, I got into Tony probably around the 9th grade. 9th grade. And... it was Tony was always there as well. I've never really lifted his stuff. So I guess with the whole challenging thing, where did my mindset go? It went from little kid, from my heart, just feeling that, to getting into this stuff and odd time signatures. Obviously, I was attracted to the clinician side of things.
Yep.
It's like my headspace was like, I want to be doing what Weckle's doing. I want to be playing in an original band that's playing fusion, I'd say
jazz, Latin,
kind of more like the Tony Williams Lifetime. So where it's like it's got a heavier edge to it, be more like Alan Holdsworth, I guess, and I did that for a while, and then like just my headspace going there. And then I went to Berkeley, and that just made it worse.
It's like a boom.
Yeah.
Like
so now I was even more hardcore into going that way. And then when I left Berkeley, it would have been 93, I believe. And I immediately packed up from New Brunswick, St. John, New Brunswick, and gone to Halifax, Nova Scotia.
It's a great city, Halifax.
Yeah. And it was a great place for someone like myself to start. Much easier to start, and people give you chances. There's more opportunities to have a chance. The bigger the city you go to, it's more difficult to get that first initial chance because people don't want to take that chance. They're like, we'll hire this guy instead.
Totally.
Right?
It's a good comment. Keep going on that, because I'm sure there's people listening and watching the show, they will like those comments. But keep going, I like it.
Yeah, I'll get back to that one actually. So did the thing in Halifax, but now I'm living in a room and board place, and I have to pay rent immediately. That's what it came down to. I had to pay my rent immediately. I was very fortunate to know a friend from when I went to a music camp when I was 15. I kept his phone. Remember that, everybody. So one of my connections when I was 15 years old at a music camp, I wrote people's numbers down in my little book. Now you have a cell phone. There's no excuse, right? And I called that guy, and he's like, wow, we're looking for a new drummer. And I went and did an audition. They're like, hey, you got it. So it gave me a gig right away and enough money to pay my room and board.
That's perfect.
I had no car. And for 5 years in Halifax, I took cabs with a drum set. I'd be standing on roads at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Pack your drum.
Any weather, waiting for a cab while they went by and wouldn't pick me up with my set of drums.
That's smart.
Sitting downtown Halifax with no drive, and I did that for 5 years, man. And did a lot of cover. It was a lot of cover stuff, and those bands you actually toured. We used to get 5-ton trucks, and we would fill a 5-ton truck with sometimes we carry like 50,000 watt cans with the big Soundcraft boards. Takes 3 guys to lift it, and we would carry all that junk into the smallest bar you can imagine, and we'd set up a miter system, and those shows were 7 days a week. We play Monday till Sunday, 4 sets a night.
That's a lot. That's a lot of shows.
Pack up, drive to Cape Breton, 7 days, 4 sets a night. Pack up, drive to Newfoundland, 7 days, and we would play an entire month without a day off.
Well, that's cool. It's you learn crazy when you do that.
It was a great place to be broken in for real. So I remember when I finally got to Toronto, it was like, have you ever toured? When I had an audition, it's like, I think that's all I do. Like,
so it's cool. Talk about that.
So, so my headspace, I had to pay my rent, and I have to, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm an honest person when I speak. I don't like to hide anything or make it something seem like it isn't or whatever. I was definitely very self-serving in my playing. And when I was at that age, I would have been 19, 20, 21, 22, right? And it's not that I thought that I was doing something to be cool. That's what I wanted to do. So, if I was playing Mustang Sally, how would Weckl play Mustang Sally? Right?
Good classic.
Yeah. So I would, from my Chicoria headspace, I would play it more or less the way it would be like that. And eventually, people are like, hey man, can you make that a little more simple? Can you make that a little more simple? Anyway, in a nutshell, where it really changed for me was when I was in Halifax before that tour I did across Canada. I was playing with some really good players. And I remember the night that it happened where the groove was so undeniable. And everybody in the room and everybody on stage, it just was that. Like it was undeniable. And the way I like to explain it, it's like a snow globe.
Okay.
In a snow globe, you get all the little people and you get all the little houses and stuff, and that's just like the band on stage. Then you can do all the intricate painting and the detail and make the band look really tight and good. Then you can put a glass dome around it. That's when the band's getting really polished. But it really doesn't happen until you fill it with water.
Oh, and you shake.
Then you shake it and you put it down, and it's 3-dimensional. That's when the groove happens. That's when the whole bubble of groove happens. And anyway, ever since that day, that was the infectious injection. What would Tower Power say?
Yeah. No, go ahead. I don't remember.
You know the Tower Power lines where they've got an infection.
Oh yeah. Direct in the blood.
They need a vaccination. A soul vaccination. Right?
Exactly. It's direct in your vein.
Yeah. So that was my soul vaccination. That's when it happened.
Okay.
And ever since that moment, it's just been kind of going that way of like always trying to achieve the biggest pocket that I can achieve and let myself go in that direction. And over the years, my playing has got more simplistic, until now when I go to a gig, I'm being asked most of the time to play more.
Like, can you play more? I think it's not enough.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, sure, if that's what you want. But typically when I learn people's music now, I've always done that though. I've always learned it exactly like the record, and then I let it start to open up over a period of time. And also the artists that you play for, they get comfortable with your playing, and they start to accept things more. Instead of going right into the gig and doing all this stuff, right? Yeah,
but this stuff is good vocabulary. But like you says, when you play with people, it's another story. Yeah. I remember I've read Modern Drummer article about Poogie Bell, and Poogie Bell was like mentioning like my favorite thing in everything I will do during a week, and when I'm seeing the people shaking hand when I'm going my groove, and I look around and I see my musician grooving with me, and it's that. I mean, you're playing for something, and everybody feel what you are doing, and this is super. And for sure, the groove will be super tight after that.
The infectious groove, right?
Infectious groove, yeah. Hey, the time goes so fast. Actually, we're almost finished. But it's cool. It's super interesting. Sorry to cut you there, but but just to one last question in this case. You tour with a lot of people. Like you just mentioned, you're like playing less. You have like you're more like careful about what you will do. But I saw a picture of your setup is huge. Like, and sometimes you play with when I saw you first time, we were like 2-tom, 2-floor, kick, snare, like a few cymbals, but
which is still gigantic for some people.
I still it's crazy. Like, actually, right now I have a 4-piece, and then that's it. But are you the kind of person adjusting your setup with the gig, or you're the kind of person who is going with your mood, or what the demand of the producer, or how you manage usually your own gear?
I would say that first and foremost, the music has to dictate first and foremost.
Yeah, for sure.
If I bring other bells and whistles, that's just because I want to add a voice. If the music allows me to, in one song, even, when I play, back in the past, I was doing some shows with Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses.
Oh, yeah.
What headspace does he come from? Right?
Yeah.
Matt Sorum, Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine. We're talking Rolling Stones. He's into the Who, although the Who had a big drum kit. But like the Rolling Stones is a better example, where it's meat and potatoes and stuff, and he likes just rock and roll, Kiss, straight up rock and roll. So I bring out bigger bass drums, 2 floor toms, 1 rack tom. That's what the music involves. And there's no song in any of his repertoire that I'm going to need the splash cymbal. It just won't exist. So I'm not bringing it. Right? I bring all my big crash cymbals, and that's it. Lately, and as you probably have seen, playing with Kim Mitchell. Just some background on Kim for those who don't know. He used to be in a band called. He used to be in a band called Max Webster. And Max Webster was a very progressive band, and the drummer Gary McCracken, awesome drummer. And he had more toms than Neil Peart did. he had like the whole slew of them and stuff. Yeah. So Kim has reintroduced a lot of Max Webster songs to his repertoire lately. Okay. And I remember one show, the last one we did at the Phoenix Concert Hall. Half the show was Max Webster. Okay. Yeah. And I got to say, with those voicings or some drum fills, you just got to do them. Yeah, you got to do that, and you need that little tom, that one you can barely hit, Yeah,
that's that custom 6-inch tom. Like everybody builder, like another 6-inch tom. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Even the 8-inch tom is hard. You're hitting this hard really fast, and you got to go all the way over to there, and then,
No, it's hard.
So anyway, it depends on the music and the freedom of expression. If the gig allows you to be more expressive, then bring more sounds. It's colors. It can give you a little character.
And when you were touring with a different project, usually are you carrying your own kit, or you're the kind of person you will use backline, or it depends of the production?
So when I was with Nelly, obviously that's a big entourage. They have money for doing whatever. If it was anything in North America, when we were traveling with the unit, obviously it was my drums in the road cases, whenever. Same as going down to the United States. When we did a show in India, they actually flew my kit all the way to India, which was kind of cool. I'm like, my drums have been to India. Right?
Oh, they really flew it. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. They flew everybody's gear over there. And then during the European tour, I don't think, or was I? My drums flew over to Europe for the European tour, which is amazing. But there's been other shows along the way with her where, Sonar drums, Sapien cymbals, whoever's taking care of the back lane, they make sure that they get the adequate drum set there for me.
Yeah, for sure. And it's great equipment.
Yeah. So it might not always be the same line of drums. It could be a different model. Whatever, they always take care of me and make sure that there's a great drum set there. But the sizes are very important, obviously, right? The specs that you need, And with other, like with Kim's gig, for example, they transport my drums around Ontario, and as far as they're going to do the drive, or Quebec, kind of thing. And the same thing goes with that. When I go out west, because I've already done the routing with Kim, that backlane company already knows my specs. You know what I mean? And sometimes they've had to fly in a kit, and now it stays there in some backline companies, which is awesome. Thank you, Sonar. You know.
Well, but they're a great company for backlines. Actually, this is another point. We won't talk about that today because we have like a minute.
Yeah.
But to choose a company for helping you with backline, it's amazing. Like, and when you can have support everywhere you go. So, where the people can see you, and like Instagram, where's your Facebook, whatever places you can share what are you doing right now.
Yeah, I'd say the best thing to just check out certain things is go to Instagram. It's probably the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I put videos up on that or YouTube, and sometimes you can check stuff out on the actual drum companies. If you go to Sonar, you can go through videos and scroll through stuff. I had a web page that was up. Kind of let that go. I'm going to redo that again and whatever. Again, the whole COVID thing. I never really. My brain's not even on.
It's like, there's a page there.
Yeah, but a lot of my career has been word of mouth, right?
Yeah. But you have a great career, and you're still very young. You will, I'm sure there's a million of good projects coming in for you in the future. But hey, man, I need to go. It's been 30. Yeah. We passed time, but it's okay. It's amazing. I will invite you for a second, like a second show, a second episode.
I love it. Yeah.
Well. Yeah. Thanks, man. Stay safe. Don't play with your luck. Put a mask and whatever. Clean your hands.
Yeah.
And I wish you all the best with your coming project, buddy.
And you as well. Thank you very much, and be safe, Eric.
Yeah, you too. Take care, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.